We moved to the South in the winter of 2022. Gardening in a new zone was exciting, and even more exciting was the fact that we had a blank slate to work with. We could create a beautiful garden from scratch. Coming from the West Coast, where I could grow all year long, you can imagine what a shock it was to transition into a seasonal gardener. I was introduced to a lot of plants I never grew in the West, and that came with a lot of trial and effort. Everything was new. The weather, the plants, and the soil, but I think the most shock came from the cost. Gardening in general could be expensive, but I learned very quickly that when you live somewhere that closes down for winter, the prices tend to be higher as they have a shorter window to turn a profit. We did most of the work ourselves, but for the big stuff, we hired help. The land where our home was built was previously cow pasture. The builder threw down seed in the back of the home and it never took. So we decided to have that taken out and get fresh sod. You can see that most of my neighbors have fences, but I didn't want a fence. I wanted a green wall. So we added a wall of arborvitaes installed to hopefully one day block out the homes behind us. It's been 2 years since they were planted, and they are doing amazing. After the sodden trees were planted, it was time to start planning out the gardens. We spent an afternoon shaping, measuring, and planning the areas. We knew that we wanted trees and had some ideas on species, but we weren't really sure. My vision was to turn this space into a room, a living room. I knew that I wanted to add things that would bulk out and cozy up the space. We used rope to form our shape so that we could stand back and look at them to see if we liked it. Then my husband used spray paint to mark the spaces. These areas change as we eventually chose a more permanent border for the garden edge. Now that we had the gardens all placed, it was time to take the sod out. The very first plant that I wanted to get in the ground when moving to the south was a hydrangea. I planted 2 pinnacles, and I have several more on the property now. It was one of the flowers that I could not grow back in California. I was very excited. These are the first 2 gardens that we got planted. The next step was to bring in trees. We had 4 trees planted in the gardens, 2 Sun Valley maples, 1 Natchez crepe myrtle, and 1 sweet bay magnolia. The nursery that we purchased them offered to deliver and plant them for us. This is where trial and error begins. I had a vision for this garden. I even took the time to design it online. The only problem was I fell in love with plants at the nursery that weren't on my plan. So I decided to scratch that and plant what I loved. This is where you are going to see some things remain till this day and some things absolutely did not make it. We decided to use weed barrier at one point to keep the crabgrass at bay. We were told by many we would regret this, and we did. You will see this area change dramatically over time. We planted privets at the edge of the patio to create a privacy screen. Spring fever is a real thing. I didn't know that until we moved. I'm craving flowers and color as soon as the garden begins to wake up. So I have found that the first thing I want to plant is a lot of color. I I have fallen in love with sun patience. They are the one plant that I can plant each year that gives me the most bang for my buck. The landscapes in early spring are still so drab. Some things look dead and magically come back to life in what seems like overnight. And sadly, the winter can take some plants. You learn to deal with that. Adding anything green in the garden in early spring really wakes it up. Because of my lack of knowledge with some plants, I fertilized what shouldn't be fertilized and planted low what should have been planted high, and this led to their demise over the season. Some of the things I planted thrived. I suppose I got lucky with those. Still, slowly but surely, my garden began to fill up. I replaced the old with the new and paid a lot of attention to the tags that came with the plants. Also, the internet is full of knowledge. I had a lot of help from seasoned gardeners that watched my videos. I planted things that later I decided needed to be moved. I like texture in my garden, and I was selecting plants based on that and not taking into account size at maturity. We also had 2 hollies planted by the builder that I was working around. They were planted to eventually cover up the air conditioning unit. We eventually moved them and add something more fitting. The vision for this area wasn't working out the way I had intended. The grass path was getting smaller as we gardened and pulled weeds, and these privets weren't thriving. Remember that weed barrier I said we would later regret? This is when we decided to pull it. We felt like the garden was suffering. It did exactly what we wanted and kept the crabgrass out, but we knew that was only temporary, and eventually it would find its way into the garden, as it always does. eventually decide to pull the privets and replace them with something else. My vision was to have green walls with entrances into the garden. And although the privet would give me that, and fast, because they are fast growers, I wanted something softer at this point. The crepe myrtle was under attack. Each year, the Japanese beetles make their way and defoliate it. The Natchez is my favorite myrtle and the most hardy. It's fast growing and has beautiful white blooms. It's been 2 years and I haven't had a chance to enjoy them before the beetles come. We have babied that tree each year with the hope that one day we will see our vision come true. This may be the year we give up. Because my vision was to have white blooms over on this side of the garden, we decide to replace the privet hedge with popcorn viburnum, which we will train into an 8-foot hedge. Ornamental grass was something I really wanted in the garden, but it was going to get big for the area where I put it. So I decided to add pots to the garden and move the grass into those. This way, I get to enjoy the beautiful texture and the bonus of the beautiful pots as well. This was our second gardening season without irrigation, and I knew I couldn't go another summer without it, but the cost was going to be thousands. We came up with a plan, a DIY plan for drip irrigation. As soon as we added that to our gardens, they began to thrive. We purchased an air conditioning screen on Amazon. It was the perfect addition to the garden. It was a much better solution as the white really showed off the plants. We also moved the privets and installed the viburnum on this day. I really started to see my vision come to life at this point. We were able to install the first entrance into the garden. We picked up a garden arbor and installed it. We planted a beautiful clematis to cover it eventually. My garden room was taking shape. Adding these little things really changed the feel of the space, and it opened it up to a lot more creativity. As the garden began to grow, we decided that the arbor wall felt disconnected. We really wanted it to feel like part of the garden as opposed to just trees in the yard. So my husband took after the task of removing all of the grass from around them. It looked amazing after, and we really wish we would have done this from the very beginning. We used the same technique we used when creating the gardens and the rest of the space. My husband pulled a string line to decide on depth and to also ensure he would get a straight line. Afterwards, he painted it. We picked up this edging tool at Lowe's, and it has been our favorite tool since. It was time to set up our DIY irrigation. This was the fraction of the cost of what it would have been had we hired the work out. I have a very handy husband, but anyone can do this. I do have a video where I go into depth of how we did this on my channel. It's titled, "We Saved Thousands by Doing This in Our Yard." Having your gardens on irrigation and watering your plants at the base makes a huge difference. It also saves you time. My husband has the whole system on timers. At the end of the season, he blows the line and shuts it down, and at the beginning of the season, he sets it all up again. It's quick and it's simple, and your plants will thank you. Created shallow trenches to connect the gardens. He removed the grass carefully so that he could replace it seamlessly. Couplings were used to make sure that the irrigation tube reached all areas of the garden. Now that the irrigation was installed, it was time for mulch. Not only is the mulch the icing on the cake in the garden, but it also helps to suppress the weeds. It is the final thing we do each year, and then we can sit back and watch the garden thrive. We made some changes to the garden spaces. We connected them using a local company that pours your garden borders on site. This adds a formal and tidy look to each planting space. We decided to merge the 2 maple trees into one garden this year. I decided to concentrate more on perennials in my garden, but of course I have to add color first. We had the border poured late last season, so I didn't get a chance to plant up the space that year. This year, I planted lots of annuals and some perennials. I will be filling up the space with perennial plants as the season passes. This was the first year that I was able to watch many things in my garden wake up and come to life. That was encouraging. I knew that I wanted to add as many plants as possible this year that I can enjoy next year to do the same. The first step in spring is always to weed. It's a task I don't enjoy doing, but I always enjoy the after. This year I'm taking time to really think about color, texture, and size when selecting plants. I'm also reading the tags, which is something I can't say I really paid much attention to in the past. I'm what you call an impatient gardener. It's been just over 2 years since we took a space full of weeds and transformed it into a beautiful space. The gardens have matured and changed so much, but I'm not done yet. This year I've added more beautiful plants and more waiting to be installed. I'm also going to be creating another entry into the garden, and we're going to be extending the arbor garden and incorporate more plants. Gardening is hard work, but I think it's one of those jobs that pays you back in joy. There is so much satisfaction in creating beauty, beauty that grows each season. As the garden matures, it changes, and you learn to love the spaces or areas even more because of that change. You learn to pivot when your design changes or things die. I know I'm not done making mistakes, but that is how I'm going to learn. I hope you enjoyed watching us create a beautiful back garden at our home. And if you are interested, I hope you plan on sticking around to watch us continue to create.